peer pressure because in a private school you may have a much more homogeneous student body. All people like you, people you probably have a social circle with, and so it becomes even more important that your child shines because you're meeting these parents outside as well in social gatherings, and then there is a one-upmanship going on. My child did that. Oh no, but my child did that. So, what would you suggest to something like that? If you're a parent who doesn't want to engage in that rat race by proxy, a proxy rat race.
Right.
So what do you do in a social situation where you're meeting parents and they're saying, my child is a gold medalist at so and so thing, and then you want to express pride for your child, but at the same time you don't want to engage in that kind of comparison.
Exactly, and you really said the right thing, Vidya, here. So I think comparison or this, like Ajay was pointing out earlier, the caller was, it's more of adult peer pressure than kids peer pressure. Of course, that is also there, but the adult peer pressure is what I think gets the parents driven into this whole rat race. And unfortunately, some people can cope with it and still manage, but it is difficult for most people. I mean, I have had parents who, like I said, was saying earlier, they are forced to keep 2 jobs because of the expenses of private school. Then the private school comes with a lot more academic demands. There's homework, schoolwork to keep up with, and parents often have to help them out. And there is conflicts between parents related to that. They are not able to find time from their work to spend a quality time, forget about quality time, but just helping out with their academic stuff. And then the kid lags behind. The kid feels pressure that I'm not meeting up the expectations, and it's a whole mess. I mean, I have worked with families where I've had to talk to parents and talk to the child and, figure things out for them. Yeah, it almost takes some kind of, soul searching for the parents to okay, what do I really want from my kid, and how I can bring that right balance where I am able to help them spend some quality time and also give them a decent education.
So I guess you need to have a pretty narrow focus on you, your family, your dynamics, your child, and not really bother too much about what's going on outside.
Exactly.
This child, in this situation, in this environment, what is the best for them, regardless of what's happening around. That's tough to do.
It is tough to do, especially in the society we are living here and the peer pressure that comes with. But I think ultimately we have to take care of ourselves. It's our well-being and our kids' well-being that's the most important thing, and we often forget that in this rat race that we kind of lost that goal. So coming back to that goal of well-being of the family is the foremost thing is very important to keep in mind always.
Absolutely. So we're going to take another short break. We've been talking about parenting stress, and we touched briefly on neonatal and newborn stress, and then a little bit about private schools. When we come back, we'll refer to that example I gave at the beginning of the show of the parents who moved their child to public school and then ended up having to do too many extracurriculars because they felt she wasn't being challenged enough, and we'll ask Dr. Leena what her solution was. So after a short break, and keep your calls coming in, 770-1550, and here's a break.
नाम नहीं आते हैं, ये जाने पहचाने लोग।
अब जब मुझको होश नहीं है, अब जब मुझको होश नहीं है, आए हैं समझाने लोग, आए हैं समझाने लोग, है कितने दीवाने लोग, आए हैं समझाने लोग।
Welcome back to ICC Parent Talk with your host Vidya. Today's topic, if you're just tuning in, is the stress of parenting in the Bay Area. We're talking to psychiatrist Leena Khanzore. And we have been talking about the stress of how the stress begins right when the child is born and it keeps going through the school years. And we briefly touched upon how in a private school there are unique kinds of stress because of the kind of parent group that is there in the school, the financial commitments that force you perhaps to work at jobs, or for both parents to work because it's not financially viable otherwise, and of course the academic pressure on the child which can radiate backwards to the parents. Leena gave us an example of a family that she'd been counseling. And I had also given an example at the beginning of the show where a child was in public school and the parents wanted the child to participate in a number of activities because they felt she wasn't being challenged at school. And this led to a lot of scheduling conflicts which escalated to marital problems, which sort of obviously started affecting the child and made her feel that she was the cause of all the parents' problems. And Leena, I think let's begin by what you advise the parents, and that I'm sure our listeners would be very interested in what you have to say about that.
Sure. So my approach was working with parents and working with the kids. And so what helped for the parents was, again, to kind of find out the goals. And like I was sharing earlier, there were a lot of things that the parents were almost imposing or forcing upon this child as, kind of fulfilling the dreams that they were not able to fulfill. So we had to reevaluate that and see, what was more meaningful for the child to do in terms of extracurricular activities. Then I think the other thing that was very striking was that they never had one-on-one quality time with the child. I mean, it was very interesting. The parents kept saying, oh, so I drive her to the X number of activities, so I'm spending time with her. But that's not the same as one-on-one time. And there are some parenting skills which we actually we know, but we probably don't find the time to do it. So carving out 15 to 20 minutes, up to 30 minutes one-on-one time by each parent every day with a child is an extremely important thing.
Could you give some examples of what they would do in those 15 times?
Yeah.
15 minutes?
Sure. So, it of course goes by the age of the kid, but it could vary from, for a younger kid, to sitting down and, building blocks with them, to an older kid walking to the park with them, riding bike with them, going for an ice cream together. I mean, where there's an opportunity for the parent and the child to have one-on-one talk.
And I'm guessing this is even more important when maybe you have two children and sometimes one child's interests start pulling you in that direction because that child needs you more in because they're much younger or they're at a high school age for whatever reason. Then probably the other child really feels neglected at that point.
Exactly. And so in that scenario, you take turns and you take care of being with one, and the other one gives the time for the other kid. And I think it's very important, and it made a big, huge difference in the dynamics that the parents and the child had in this particular family. I mean, this child who was struggling with self-esteem issues, who was feeling like she was a cause for her parents' conflict, was blaming herself, feeling sad and anxious. and also was, unable to kind of comply with them. It got to a point where she kind of became a little bit oppositional. And so, this repairing the relationship between the parents and child, reconnecting them, was very helpful for the child to comply back again, listen to the parents, and not be opposition anymore. I think the other thing that I think is very helpful for parents to know is also to work on the praise correction ratio, as we call it. Often we, especially culturally, I think we are we do less of praise and we do more of correction. When a child is doing something, we say, hey, rather than appreciating the first part of it, maybe that they were doing well, and maybe they were not doing the second part as well, we try to just correct the second part rather than at least giving them like, hey, at least you guilty. Right. And so we find ourselves, including me, I like I said, my daughter keeps me on my toes. I find myself correcting her more than praising, and then we have to always remind ourselves that the praise needs to be more than the correction. We want them to correct and improve, of course, but the praise correction ratio has to be where praise is more.
It's a wacky idea. Can you actually keep a tally mark of what you've been saying to the child during the day, just to track your typical, interaction with the child, and say, okay, praise, this is praise, that was correction, this is praise, and just see at the end of the day?
Absolutely. With the technology, you can just, just do it on your iPhone, I guess, or, absolutely. I give handouts where, I track the progress, and I did see a difference in this family again. So there are a lot of those parenting skills that can help repair this relationship, and it made a big difference in this family too. And then the kid, one-on-one, I was able to understand her perspective. She was almost looking for an adult to listen to her feelings and her choices that she wants to make, and all it took was then having her talk to her parents about what she wants to do, and everything was in place.
I guess you show your child that it's not the achievements that are important, but them as a person as well.
Exactly. And so, there is actually a big emphasis on a lot of parent training skills that's my area of interest, and I'm actually quite interested in doing some parent training groups for people in the community, where there are actually we have like 10-session course where weekly we cover one important topic about how this skill could be so important to have.
So how would our listeners find out about that if they're interested?
I think right now it's still in the phase where I'm trying to see if I can do it, maybe something like maybe at ICC or so I'm working on it. But the best way to connect with me would be through my email, and it's a long one, but you'll get it. It's kind of easy.
We'll also put it up on indiacc.org/parentstalk at the end of the show. I know we are a little bit behind on updating that page, but we will get to it, and we'll put up Dr. Leena's particulars and contact there as well. But you can share it with them now.
Yeah, so the email is DOC, like doc, LEENO, at SV, like Silicon Valley, svpsychiatry.com.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
We'll say it again at the end of the show, guys, so we'll give you some time to grab that pencil and paper and keep waiting. But something, the other thing that I was thinking about is that in this country in particular, there is a meme, or I don't know if it's a myth, but it's a meme that geniuses are made, not born. And so to a certain extent, we take on an enormous amount of stress thinking that we can shape our children to become geniuses. Is that realistic?
I think it goes back to the discussion we are kind of trying to have. Yeah, do we really think, is that possible? So